Welcome back, everyone. Happy good evening to you all. It is May 11th, which I believe is a Thursday, but who can keep track anymore?
What is
It's a
time?
Thursday. It's a Thursday here on the East Coast. What day is it in Missouri, guys? Is
It's
it
a
like
Thursday. Yeah, it's still a Thursday.
Monday? Oh, is that how that works? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you went an hour and a day back when you moved time zones, but apparently
It
not.
might. It just feels like it.
That's right. You were listening to the Soccer Talk Lads podcast. You'll note, if you're a clever listener, that Soccer Talk Lads actually abbreviates to STL,
Mhm.
which is shorthand for the city of
Not
St.
everyone. Not everyone knows that. You would think
That's
that more
right.
people would, but
So
not everybody does.
sneaky little wordplay we did there when we named this thing. So my name is Stephen Brown. I'm joined by Ian Peters. Ian, how are you doing this evening?
I am dry. It rained today, but it didn't rain on me.
That's right. Because don't let the sun go down on Ian or something. And Justin, quickly, you've got credentials. You tell us how you're doing.
It's humid out. I'm not as dry as Ian. I just went for a walk before the podcast, and it's like sitting on your skin, man. That's how
right.
humid it is.
I like the tank top. It's tank top season.
It
baby.
is. Sun's out,
I
guns
busted
out.
one of those out the other day. And
Humidity out.
Let's
Guns
go.
out. Yeah, it's tank top season.
I'm also dry, but I don't have dry sockets. So
Is that possible in Florida? Like there are
Dry
times
socket?
where
I think so. Yeah, I think that's possible anywhere. You just take shitty care of a dental procedure. Oh, you mean being dry? No,
Either way.
it's not really. It's hot and shitty out here too, but it's fine. I'm used to it. You just it's just what it is, You just you're just various stages of hot all the time.
That's right.
You just accept it. Except that you'll never be dry and cool ever again.
That's right. There are things that I'm struggling to accept, though, and that's the lackluster performance of St. Louis City SC lately. They have played one game, technically, since we last spoke, but they started two games. They are on a two-game all competitions losing streak. They did not officially play FC Dallas on the weekend, which was a game that was postponed due to weather. And then they lost in the Lamar Hunt US Open Cup in the round of 32 to the Chicago Fire, making all of our worst nightmares come true. Justin, where would you like to start with these two games?
Yeah, I guess we can let's do a little compliment sandwich. So we can talk about the Dallas game first, because I thought it was actually decent. They didn't score, but I thought the play was better. And then can you talk about the disaster that was losing to Chicago?
All right, talk to us about the Dallas game first, why don't you?
Yeah,
so like an open face sandwich, by the way. This sounds very open face.
Yeah. Will there be a compliment on the other side? Who's to say?
That's because they fell on their open face or something. I don't know.
Listen,
it's been a weird couple of days. You guys were just around.
We're loose, boys. We're loose. Yeah. So they come into this game in a 4-4-2 diamond, which is like a slightly different formation than what we've seen for them. Miguel Perez seems like he is a starter now. Like, we'll see what seems like. Blom, of course, if he's healthy, is the starter there, but Miguel Perez is making it hard for him to not be in the lineup. So they went with Perez, Vasilev, Ludvig, and Ostrak in the midfield, then Pompeu and Gioacchini up top, which I think was interesting. Like, we can get into this in the tournament game, but I feel like they desperately miss a target striker, which is by the name of João Klaus. But understandably, when one of your DPs is missing for an extended period of time, I think the run of play is going to be not as good. This game is a scoreless draw as of now. They'll restart it from the 50th minute in, what do we say, June 7th? Is that what they said? June 7th, which falls between a Saturday and Sunday game, which actually is like common sense worked out. But as far as this game goes, I thought they actually looked pretty good. They definitely did a good job stifling Dallas. Maybe they were not as good going forward, but I don't know. I guess I'm not that worried about it, knowing like the circumstances around the attack that just hasn't been looking good. Like, what do you guys think of the first half? I guess we can talk about.
I mean, I thought they looked good. I thought they looked better than they did in the previous game without Klaus, right? Like I thought they had
Mhm.
adapted a little bit better to that, but it does still feel like you're saying like they're missing their primary attacker and they don't quite know what to do without him. I mean, is he supposed to be back next week?
So he's out on Saturday, and yeah, like
Okay.
next week I think is the expected return, because
I mean,
Cardell initially said that he'd be like off the bench available, but then today they said he's not. So I guess it's just making sure he's
So you're saying
100%
he
when he comes
suffered a
back.
massive setback.
Right,
yeah.
a massive setback.
Although to
absolutely.
be fair, with Klaus, I suppose any
Yeah,
setback.
any sort of setback is a massive setback. I think it's just like it's a minor muscle injury, which it doesn't like have a set timetable for recovery.
Was it like his calf or something? I'm trying to remember what he was like favoring.
Groin, I believe.
Groin.
I think it was the same injury that Blom had.
So favoring his groin. We'll see. I don't want to jump ahead at all, but you would think that playing Chicago this Saturday, it wouldn't really be that much of an issue that you're missing Klaus. And then we already kind of look at that and we'll get to get to it. But like I still think it shouldn't be an issue come Saturday that they're missing him. Like I still think they should be able to beat them without Klaus, but it is something where I'm like, I want them to find something that works without him, just because I don't know, he's a big lumbering guy and I feel like he takes up a lot of space and can be like an easy target and go down pretty hard. And it just feels like this is something that you're going to have to possibly deal with later on in the season too or something. So I just would like them to have a more established plan B or something that works better for them, because as of now it just feels kind of neutered.
Yeah, like I think that plan B was Sam Adeniran, and then like circumstances just didn't work
said,
out.
Oh, not an MLS player. Bye-bye.
Yeah. But I thought they looked better from like a defensive standpoint this game, at least. Like they were actually winning ball, or this half a game, this game that didn't actually happen. They're winning balls up the field more, which was something they had been struggling the past couple of games. So it seemed like intensity wise, and like in the Chicago game, I think you can say that like intensity wise, defensively, they're there.
Oh yeah, I feel like they move it up the field fairly well too. It's just kind of like that last quarter of the field is sort of like where their creativity kind of dies a little bit, or it's just kind of like I feel like they're better moving up the field and like attacking quickly and like a counterattack, rather than like when they try and set up, it's like, this is now slowed to a standstill.
I was thinking about that today because I feel like they have a lot of guys who are good complementary pieces, and like even Joe Keeney, like I think he's a really good player, but I just don't think he can be like a standalone striker. He needs a guy like Klaus to play off of and play in between those spaces. But like on his own, he's not the guy that can create something out of nothing like Klaus can. But
you're not that guy, dude. You're not that guy.
Not that guy.
I wonder if this is just like something where set pieces become a bigger deal then, like the fact that they use Leuven as like their corner kick guy, as their set piece guy, that like, okay, now, I don't know if teams ever try to generate set pieces on purpose, but like I just feel like they've just become more important, because that's kind of your next 1-2 punch of a guy that's there as your other DP that you can generate offense from.
That guy can play some pretty balls too.
That's right.
Steven.
Yeah. That is true. I won't argue with that. But yeah, I mean, I think I echo a lot of what you guys have said. Especially with the Dallas game, we'll talk about the other game here momentarily, but like there's just not enough to read into that much one way or the other. I don't think they looked especially inspired and amazing and incredible in the first 50 minutes or whatever we watched. But I don't think they look bad necessarily either. So, that's about where I'm at. Hopefully they get the 3 points, or at least hold on to the 1 point, and they play in a couple weeks and be good to go.
Good to go. Yeah, if you look at the like momentum stats, like it was a pretty, as we can kind of go into, just not that it matters since the game still has to be played, but expected goals were even 0.47 to 0.44. Both teams had a big chance. Both teams had some shots on goal. City had 9 total shots to Dallas's 5. Fouls committed. City committed 10 fouls to Dallas's 4. So they're definitely getting aggressive and mixing things up. City had 3 corners to Dallas's 1. So it was a game that was definitely back and forth. And Dallas is a good team, and they've been a good team for a while. So like I think it's maybe a little bit reassuring that they hung with Dallas in that way and have a chance to see this game out when it does resume and on the road against a team that has been like one of MLS's perennial playoff teams. So I don't know. I draw some positives there.
It'll be interesting to see where both teams are come June 7th, like just like see who's on the up and up, or if they're both still playing well or not. I'm assuming if Klaus is hopefully by then back, that they just like sub him in quick or something. I just think it's funny that they have to keep the same lineup, but then it's like, all right, quick subs. I guess you'll just see what happens as the game progresses, and then maybe it takes a quick downturn. You like start to try and bring them in faster. Maybe you don't disrupt anything right off the bat.
It's like it's such a long fucking season. Like you can lose a game in May and like have your striker back healthy. I think that's okay. I'm concerned because I don't want to lose to Chicago, and I will be very distraught and depressed if they do lose to Chicago again. But
points are points, Justin.
Points are points. That's true. Points are points. And you can win 4 games and be like, go from the bottom of the table to the top in this league. So you can go on a run.
That's right. It's all about parity.
Don Garver loves him some parody. All right. Do we want to move on to the depressing portion of this podcast?
I don't want to, honestly, but I guess we have to.
Again, then it got worse.
Go ahead and lay that, Justin.
All right. So, big story this week. Chicago Fire beat St. Louis City SC 2-1 in the round of 32 U.S. Open Cup to knock them out of the cup before the round of 16. And
we were there and then we weren't.
We were there and then we weren't. And I'm a little bit sad about it, I got to say. And it was one of those games too where, and I wrote about this for Area, it's like, it's a frustrating game in that they looked like the better team, but the results weren't there. And like the mistakes that you make, and both goals come off like crazy mistakes. The first one is a like long headed clearance that they are kind of switched off on, and Hill Selassie is able to like get in behind and just beats Ben Lunt. And then the second goal is a ball that's played back to Ben Lunt, and he tries to play it instead of booting it long, and it comes into the second goal. And like they are able to get the first goal late after a period of intense possession and a lot of momentum, but then you keep it too late and you can't find that equalizer again. And just like mistakes that cost you. And it's frustrating.
I feel like they were, from what I watched in the second half of that, I feel like St. Louis was kind of what we were saying before, like good at staying and getting into their attacking zone, but like there just wasn't much to generate from that. Like I felt like they did a good job of pressing, or like being in that zone, but they didn't necessarily do a good job of like generating like A+ opportunities. And it felt like at points they were looking for something really big when they could have made like an easier play or like a more direct play, let's say. And it just felt like they were doing that all game. And it was, I don't know, it was frustrating just because from what I know, Chicago Fire not that great.
No,
just got rid of their manager. Like you were right, they got the bump, I guess. Like that's what was the bump. They said, to hell, we will play better. Even though it seems like from every Chicago Fire fan, he was not the problem, or he may have been part of the problem, but is not the sole or largest problem.
Yeah, so I guess we can talk about that heading into the game, heading into this week. Ezra Hendrickson, who had been their coach, is fired. And the Frank Kloppus, the guy that is interim manager, was interim manager the last time that they fired a coach. So it's very interesting that
familiar territory.
They keep firing managers and not firing the guy that creates the roster. But like, it's just not a well put together team. And like, they have good players. Brian Gutierrez is amazing, and he's, a 19-year-old homegrown. So like, your best players come from their academy, and they're very good at using their academy, but they have Steven, close your ears. They missed on Zerdan Shaqiri pretty bad. It seems like that guy is operating on like 25% capacity, I think. Steven, you
Yeah,
watched him at Liverpool. What was that game like for you?
How do you feel?
How do you feel seeing him as a shell of his former self?
He's not great. I feel like he's a guy though that was never at least at Liverpool, he was not used to be the star player. Now he's obviously done it for Switzerland in the World Cup at the very highest level. So it's hard to say that the man can't be a play driver or a central player. But the way Jurgen Klopp used him, he was a kind of a super sub guy who came on in key moments and drove play when he had a lot of energy and the other players didn't. Also, I mean, how old is he now? Probably 30-ish.
He is 31, making $8.5 million this season.
Yeah, well, that's a problem for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not heartbroken. I love Shaqiri for what he did at Liverpool, but it is what it is, I guess.
The second he signed for Chicago, he was dead to me. I know it's not that to you, but he was to me. So just so you know, just so you're aware.
Yeah,
that's fair.
That's fair.
Their other DPs, like, are they not playing well either? Like, it seems like if your DPs suck, you're kind of
like they've missed on their DPs,
like dry.
Pretty spectacular. So like Gaston Jimenez as an extension this year, that makes him not a DP anymore, but like as a DP, he was very bad, and they've not done well with their designated players. They have sold, so they sold Gaga Slanina last year. They've sold like academy players. They've done well with their academy players, but it's like turning that into a roster has not worked well for them. And then like you look at what City was able to do in this tournament game, and like their best player was Ludwin, who is their 1 DP now, Miggy Perez, who was an 18-year-old who was like not sure what academy he was going to play for last year, or I guess 2 years ago. And then very young, unproven attackers. So like I think your read on that is right, Ian, and that like they had a lot going forward, but they just didn't have that final goal. And like your final touch that does work is a corner that like almost goes in on its own that Miggy Perez is able to just shoulder in. Not great from an attacking perspective, that's for sure.
Yeah, it definitely felt like one of those things where I'm like, this feels winnable. This feels like a very winnable game that I don't know, as simple as you just lost because you don't have the scoring touch right now. And like you said, and then there's just a handful of mistakes, and they end up being costly ones that end up in the back of your net. What's our backup, our second tier or whatever goaltender that's not Roman Berkey?
Ben Lunt, who I don't know, like Michael Krieg also, but like I don't know if Krieg moves up ahead of Lunt because of how rough. I don't know, like shot stopping wise is good, but like obviously playing with his feet, that was an issue in this game.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looked
that was bad. That was like you hate to pin a loss on a guy, but that was a bad giveaway.
Yeah,
I don't know what he's doing there, honestly.
Also, to me, it's like I think when you have a number one goalie who's such an important part of your team, your number two should model his play style. And obviously Berkey is a guy who's very much of the kind of quote unquote sweeper keeper, move the ball out kind of style. I know sweeper keeper is kind of an antiquated term because everybody does that now, but you know what I'm saying? Like very much in that move the ball.
But there's like, no, but you're right, Steven, in that there's like
part of the attack,
there's a thing where like everyone wants their goalkeeper to play with their feet now, and not every goalkeeper is.
But not every goalkeeper
going to be able to do that.
Exactly. Like there's guys that are doing that. Like Allison is obviously probably the best in the world at it, but there are other examples of guys that's the focus of their goalkeeping, and maybe the shot stopping is not. With Allison, I would say obviously one of the best goalies in the entire world at everything, but like clearly the shot stopping is a tier behind the ball movement only because the ball movement is so elite, so like
but I think like to your point, Steven, that's what people not say discount but don't pay enough attention to is like Berkey is kind of one of the premier ball drivers on this team as far as like getting the ball down the field, and Luntz obviously isn't that, and like, I can't get over.
Well, and I think, sorry, go ahead.
No, I can't get over that play of like why the ball gets passed back to you, you don't just like boot it instead of with 3 defenders around you try to, I don't know, was he trying to dribble through them or what he was trying to do exactly? But
I do think too, with when you look at a team that's such a high pressing team as we are and trying to drive the attack, drive the defense deep into their own zone, having that, as we've talked about before, Berkey is so high on the vertical yardage added, like
verticality, baby.
Having that element is so huge, and so to replace him with someone, and I'm not saying it's all Loon's fault. I don't think the team looked especially good, but having that vertical element and or versus missing it in this game can make the difference, certainly between a goal, given away, as he arguably did, more than arguably did, and the example we're talking about, versus like a goal that we could have scored on a point breaking the other way. Or so I just think it's part of the puzzle.
It was bad. It was a failure. I don't know.
So after the loss obviously stings, especially given that it's against Chicago Fire, but that's the perils of a single elimination tournament. With that in the rearview mirror now, we talked about the panic meter last week. I think I was a 3. Where are we at now? And Ian, I don't think we got yours because you weren't here last week, so how could we have? But where would you say your panic meter is at this juncture? On a scale of 1 to 10.
With the knowledge.
Wow, just go ahead and jump in, Justin. We called on Ian and you're just jumping in.
He's got the credentials.
Did you call on Ian? I thought you were just throwing it out there. I thought this was open to anyone. No, Ian.
It's already done. Go ahead, Justin.
Ian, go ahead. Ian, go ahead.
4.
Fuck, Ian, could you answer with some confidence?
Jesus.
I mean, I'm not, it's a 3. I'm not panicked. I mean, they're missing Klaus. They're gonna drop games. They weren't always gonna be, no losses, no draws, or just win out the season. So like, it bothers me that they lost to Chicago in their first run against Chicago. It's also just kind of sucks that they had a game that they couldn't even finish. So it just feels like it's been a long time since like a win, even though it hasn't really been 2 losses. It's sort of just felt as such. And then having to play Chicago again, it is kind of a feeling of like, okay, well, now you saw what they were. You saw what you need to be able to beat them. I really hope you beat them on Saturday, but if you don't, I guess I'm not overly panicked, but I'm a little annoyed. I'm kind of like, oh, come on now. This isn't a good team. And I know we're down class, but you should be able to make adjustments to beat them, certainly.
Yeah.
And I think kind of to Steven's point, if they have Berkey in, then I kind of feel like that just adds to this team's cohesion and everything as well.
Yeah, I think it's a different story if Berkey starts that game. I really do.
Berkey is not technically a designated player, right?
Right, because he was a free transfer, so they didn't pay a transfer fee on him. So it's like, I believe the DP threshold is 2.4 million, and he's on 1 point something. So yeah, he's just a TAM player, which is good. It's good that like
that TAM.
Yeah, a guy that important like isn't a DP, which I think helps.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Down the line, where now they can bring in a Bobby
Chompers. Team anywhere.
That's right. We don't have designated players, even though we have 2 designated players.
That's right. Justin, now would you please share your ranking on the panic meter? No, I will not. Fair enough. All right.
I think I'm in a similar boat as Ian in that like the caveats for why this team, why their vibes are trending downward, and that like Klaus and all being hurt. And Klaus, I think, is like just such a big part of this team. And like any designated player in this league is a big part of this. Any team. There are very few teams that can play without their designated player, or at least one of their designated players for a extended period of time and play well. It's just like the nature of designing a roster around like 3 specific players, right? But that being said, like there is some positive in that Blom comes back and he looks pretty good. Like I think we haven't seen that much of him, and I think he can make a big impact on this team. So I have some positives there. Miggy Perez was probably the best player on the pitch in that game. He had 10 passes into the or not 10, he had 20 passes into the final third, which is just like an insane stat from that game. So he's just turning into a regular MLS contributor, which is not something that you thought you were going to have at the start of the season. So the problem being, of course, that they don't have a striker. Like your other target striker is Caden Glover, who is again another young kid who hasn't exactly been lighting it up at City 2, and you don't want to like put him in such a high stress situation when you're trying to bring him along slowly. So I don't know if my panic meter has necessarily gone up as much as I am angry and frustrated about losing to Chicago. Like I think you can maybe ship a couple of losses in May to make you stronger as you get into the summer transfer window and the end of the season. That being said, long story short, I think I'm at a 4 on the panic meter.
So when you go, and that's an 8.
Anyway, I'm at about a 10 on the panic meter.
Shaking.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I no need to overly rehash the things you guys said.
Steven, the floor is yours.
I'm about a 3 or 4 too. And I think we can make the jokes about the designated team thing, obviously. But I do think even to the extent that that's true, and I don't think it's untrue in the sense that we're a team oriented team. We're a structural team and we play as a unit. That's still
we are a team. As
that's right.
Pierre Dorian
once said. That's still a team and a unit and a structure that is built around having Klaus in the attack, and we don't. So, like as you mentioned earlier, like Gioacchini is a good player. He's a better player when he's playing off of Klaus, and they're able to make those threats. Klaus is not. Obviously, he's your biggest goal scoring threat in and of itself, and we're struggling to score goals. So that's one part of the equation, but also because he's your biggest goal scoring threat, he's drawing defenders away from other things that are happening on the field. He's causing chaos in the back line. He's making runs on corner kicks and set pieces that other players aren't making. Like it's not that hard. If we were suddenly losing games 6-2 or 5-1 or just didn't have any attack at all, that would be really upsetting. But having a couple of 2-1 losses, it sucks. It feels like that Union Omaha game was like 15 years ago. But honestly, I don't even know.
That was so fun.
Yeah, it was. I don't even know if I'm at a 3 or 4. I feel like I'm almost at like a 2. I just don't. If Klaus's injury was more severe, I would be a lot more worried, I guess, because I don't know how we can replace him until the summer transfer window, and Bobby Tromper's rumors are interesting only because he's such a different player to Klaus. But I guess the thinking is like, you don't want to sign 2 guys to play the same role. Chompers would play more the Gioacchini role almost, and
or like he could even play like if they were to go to like a 5-3-2 or something when Nielsen comes back. Like I think
I think Firmino is obviously most famous as kind of that false 9, like deep lying playmaker, who I think would be a really good compliment.
Which to Klaus. Makes me feel bad for Gioacchini, how he would be kind of a Gioacchini replacement, but
for sure. But I mean, if you get the opportunity, I think you got to take it, and Gioacchini would still
his presence looms large over this podcast.
That's right. Yes. But all of that is to say, I'm not that worried yet.
I will say also, they have like a pretty favorable run of games coming up. 4 straight home games after Chicago, where they play SKC, Vancouver Whitecaps, Houston Dynamo, then LA Galaxy, which like 3 of the 4 teams are hopeless at this point. So,
and let us not forget, we're still talking about an expansion team that's second in the Western Conference at 19 points with a game in hand on first place, who's only at 20 points. Again, I don't want to repeat this line all season, but if anyone had offered you this positioning at this juncture of the season, we all would have taken it sight unseen. So like, there's a little early to be pushing the panic button, in my opinion. But hey, this is not, people who are fans of our other podcasts in this illustrious podcast network will not be used to reasonable modest takes from yours truly, but this is a time for reserve and calm, I would say. But as long as we're talking about panic meters, Justin, how panicked are you about Man United?
I mean, it's inevitable. They're going to drop out of the top four. I've already accepted it, so there's no panic there.
Okay,
it's like
fair enough.
It's like acceptance.
It's like a sort of a zen,
yeah.
You've reached nirvana, and so you can't even.
They're not going to finish the Champions League spot. It's fine. I'm okay with it. I'm like with City too. I'm not as invested as I once were in Manchester United because I actually have a team to watch on a weekly basis that's not across the pond and speaking a language that I don't understand.
I have to say this, and obviously I'm a Liverpool fan. Obviously I've talked about that plenty on this podcast, but like I think there's genuinely a sense in which if Jurgen Klopp manufactures a Champions League finish out of this season, given where he was, whatever, 6 weeks ago, I think they've won 6 in a row, whatever it was, it might be the most impressive coaching accomplishment he's had.
I remember a certain co-host of this podcast being absolutely distraught about this Liverpool team
because they were terrible and nothing has changed. I mean, they've gotten Luis Diaz back, they've gotten Diogo Jota back. That's huge. I mean, you can't underestimate that. But like,
what? But nothing's changed.
Shush, you don't judge me.
That draw to Arsenal.
No.
That draw to Arsenal really did like power it. I feel like once they figured out that Arsenal were frauds, they're like, we should be in this.
And obviously, I mean, their back half of the season has been weaker competition, but also I think I heard somewhere that like if they win the 9 games in a row or whatever it would be to get to the end of the season, which I personally think they will. I don't think they'll drop points.
Those are very winnable games.
But if that would be 9 in a row to reach the home stretch. I think I heard that would be the longest winning streak of any Premier League team this year. 9 would be.
Let's see. Let me look at Manchester City.
Yeah, it might be. I might be wrong, but I heard something along that line. It certainly would be the longest winning stretch of Liverpool season, and that's a fourth of a season. That's 25% of a season, right? That you won in a row. So, it's very fascinating to me to see them. According to 538, they climbed to a 28% chance of making the Champions League. With obviously Newcastle almost certain, and Man U being the team that seems the most likely to drop points. Liverpool have Leicester, Villa, and Southampton coming up now. Two of those are on the road. Only Villa is at home, but you could argue that Villa is the hardest of those opponents, so I don't think you could argue. I mean, I think you pretty much have to say that Villa is the hardest of those opponents. So if you were going to host one, you would want to host them. Southampton have nothing to play for now. Leicester have a lot to play for this week, but they're also bad. So are Southampton officially relegated? I think they are, right? They have 24 points. I guess if they won out, they could theoretically.
Yeah, I guess they're like mathematically not 100% yet, but if they drop points this weekend,
it will be the time they played Liverpool on the last weekend.
Yeah, because they play Fulham this weekend and they're not going to get points off that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that concerns me is that Man United have 4 games left to Liverpool's 3, but one of those games is against Arsenal, which it's hard to imagine they beat Arsenal. Or no, that's a summer game, so never mind. But one of those games are Wolves, Bournemouth, Chelsea, and Fulham. Fulham will have a lot to play for in the last season. I don't know. Could it happen? Yes, it definitely could happen. Could you went out and put an end to it?
I think here's what I think is going to happen with Manchester United. I think they'll go 2 wins, 2 losses. So, like if Liverpool win out, then they pass them, because I think United will lose to Wolves. I think they'll beat Bournemouth, they'll beat Chelsea, and then they'll lose to Fulham. So that's my read on these final 4 games. So if that works out for Liverpool, so be it. And they may even only beat Chelsea. I'm not convinced that they could beat bad teams right now.
That's fair. That's fair.
They look like I don't know. It's just a weird. They have a weird thing going on in that they like feel like they're barely squeaking by teams that they should be just running through, but they've lost to Brighton 1-0. They've lost to West Ham 1-0, and like Marcus Rashford has kind of completely disappeared. And earlier this year, he was probably the best goal scorer in the league for a moment. So like that kind of regression to the mean, because we kind of know what Marcus Rashford is at this point. Like, not to say that Erik ten Hag can't unlock things out of some players, because he obviously has that ability, but they are still in the process of rebuilding that like Frankenstein roster that they have. They just like spend way too much money on pointless things. That's my thoughts on Manchester United.
I think that's fair. But this was really one of the best endings to Premier League season I can remember in a while. It got tension at all three kind of key inflection points, if you will, in the standings. You've got, Liverpool pushing for that fourth Champions League spot.
You got
not Tottenham so much.
Tottenham trying to hang on to an Europa League spot potentially.
Yeah. Ian not listening to us as he just gets fucking daggered. And then you've got about like 19 teams that could be relegated by my count. So
who's the saddest team to get relegated? Like, who are you most sad about seeing go to get relegated?
I honestly, I really don't want to see either Leicester or Leeds go. Leeds is probably saddest to me just because it's got all the American guys and Jesse Marsh was there.
I don't want to see Brendan Aronson in the championship.
Leicester's a team that I really like. And obviously they had that incredible run. And, of course, it's been most of a decade ago now. I think that was 2016. So that's 7 years, 8 years. But I just don't want to see a team like that fall out of grace. They'll always have those memories and those moments. And obviously, I don't think if they get relegated, they'll be relegated for very long. But it's just sad that they couldn't, use a literal Premier League title to at least get into that tier of clubs who are kind of relegation.
And like
proof,
they were, I feel like they were pushing it for a while. And like, just this season, the wheels kind of fell off. It's like when you hold on to players for like one season too long, this feels like that. Like they just didn't turn over this. It's almost
like, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here. It's almost like Brendan Rodgers is a fucking terrible manager.
Almost. There's I love how they'll bring someone into the Premier League who's had success at like Rangers or Celtic and be like, he's won this many titles in the Scottish Premier League. It's like, but if you coach Rangers or Celtic, you kind of should be judged on
it's literally just a frigging coin flip.
How you do in Europe, and not how you do in the Scottish Championship, because they also spend like an astronomical amount compared to all the other Scottish Premiership teams.
As much of a battle as I'm sure St. Johnstone gives them every year,
the Ross counties of the world.
But in any case,
the Dundee Uniteds.
What's your answer to that question? Who would you be most sad to see?
I'd be sad about Leicester, I think, like for sure. That's a team, like I said, that's like has kind of done everything the smart way up until like the last couple of seasons, and just kind of sucks the way that things have gone for them. And like, I think there's some behind the scenes reasons why. There's a good TIFO video out right now just talking about how their ownership doesn't have as much money as they thought they would have access to for the team, just based on the global economy and everything. And they kind of went away from signing like young players that they could resell like down the line to bigger teams potentially, and brought in some not aging players, but like more prime year players with Premier League experience that just didn't quite work out.
People who are like 24 or 25, like most of their good years are behind them. That kind of
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I love soccer. It's great. It makes me feel good about myself.
When you're 31 and you're just like toast, But I don't know who I'd be happy to see go like besides them. Like if Everton go. I don't think I'm necessarily happy about Everton getting relegated. Like Nottingham Forest, maybe, because I don't really have a connection to them. Although
I'll say this: it's about
Keylor
friggin'
Navas.
time for Southampton. I'll say that much. They're the team I feel like that's been just kind of clinging to it for years,
Yeah.
And then,
Nottingham Forest bringing in Keylor Navas, that makes them relegation proof for me. I think
That's right.
I don't want to see him get relegated.
Exactly. Ian, who do you want to see get relegated besides Tottenham?
Don't fucking kill me. Everton. Get Everton out of here. That's what I say. I say only one Liverpool team.
They won a game last week, so they are.
So I've heard. No, I mean I think Southampton, of the three that are in the relegation spaces is the one that's the most like whatever. So yeah. I like Leeds for their jerseys and jersey colors. I think they got some sick jerseys. Leicester, just kind of sad to go from high to low just like that, even though it's been a little while. But what is this, Steven? What are you showing me?
This is I love these charts they have on soccer Wikipedias, but this is Southampton's finish in ever since joining the Premier League. They've been in the Prem for a decade now, since 2012. But I love this. I just like this. They must have gotten a new ownership here, right? Because it's just like a straight climb.
I think they had they just had like a golden
table.
Generation of academy players that
year. I guess they
Wow.
had Van Dijk and Mane and a bunch of guys that were pretty good.
I love how old these teams are. I love it.
I love the one of the
There's a
World War II.
A pre-World War II graph.
Yeah.
It's
I was on Celtic. Oh yeah, here it is. Pre-World War I for St. Johnstone.
I love seeing this in like I was playing a Celtic save in my FIFA game. It's like established in 1888, and like the MLS broadcast, they'll like put the established date like in the logo, and it's like St. Louis City established 2023. It's like or 2022.
That sounds like we were on the moon.
Are you're managing Celtic?
Oh yeah, in my FIFA save. Yeah, I started with DC United.
Competition.
I won.
You do what I do, where you like earn your way up. To
I won a couple MLS titles with DC
That's
United,
classy.
Folks. That was a hard one to rebuild.
That's a challenge. Yeah,
DC
I did
United.
who did I do? Oh, I did Orlando 1 year and won like a title and a half, and then moved to like Feyenoord in the Dutch league, and then up from there.
The Scottish League's kind of fun. I had a football manager save where I did Aberdeen and like wanted to bring them up to Celtic and Rangers, and like I don't know, it's kind of fun. You have this like dual monolith of Celtic and Rangers just sitting there, and you have to try and knock them down. It's a weird league.
Yeah, well, that's what it's supposed to be,
I guess.
It wasn't Feyenoord. Now I'm really. Oh, it was Heerenveen. SC Heerenveen. So
beautiful.
There you go. In Eredivisie. Folks, I want to close today's podcast with a culinary tip for all you lads and ladies out there, lasses. Especially if you're a single person. That's a great tip. You just marinate some chicken and cook it before the week starts. You cook that on like a Sunday night, right?
Cool.
You just put your spices on there, leave it on the counter for 30 minutes before you cook it. You have to let the chicken.
Would it be better to let it age overnight on the counter? Would you say?
That's going too far.
Okay.
Leave it on the counter. Right. You got to let it get away from fridge temperature, because then the cooking will be uneven. And you also do not put it in a cold skillet. You will pre-warm the skillet, and then you cool and dry the chicken on the counter, and then you put it in the skillet. That's step one. Then you grill that, you finish it, you cut it up, and then you're going to get yourself a couple of I think they're called Chef Express, so the purple and green bags in the deli that are the chopped Caesar salad kits. And then you're just going to take the chicken, you're going to throw it in one of those kits, mix it all together, shake it up. You got yourself a dinner in like 90 seconds, and it's healthy and it's delicious, and you can eat that twice a week, and it's great for you. So
lads and lasses out there, take note.
That's a fun fact for the people out there.
And that's free. That's free. That's not even.
Hey, what are either of these two schmucks giving you? You know, conspiracy theories about parts of St. Louis that do not fucking exist.
don't
I'm
even.
giving you take-home tips for your delightful dinner experiences.
They can take that home to downtown West where they live.
Exactly. Exactly.
None of nobody.
They can walk downstairs in their downtown West apartment. They can go to the Culinaria, which I think is powered by Schnucks, I believe, in downtown West, and they can go into the deli section and follow Steven's instructions.
Powered by Schnucks.
What
do you say to the great people of Maggie O'Brien's? What do you say to them? Where do they
I
exist?
say they're in St. Louis, just like everyone else.
I mean, they're in St. Louis, yes, but specifically neighborhood wise.
I mean, the hills in St. Louis.
I would say they are west of the true center of downtown.
Downtown.
True center, the bustling center.
It's a gibberish expression on top of just not existing.
I would say, now I'm going to go out on a limb here, and Ian, let me know if you back this up or not.
Hold on, listen. You have never called it downtown West before the soccer team was there. You cannot tell me.
That's just because I didn't know. That's just
downtown West.
I learned
because you're full of crap because they made it up, so that's why.
I think downtown West is more of like the center of the city than downtown, personally.
Are you?
I mean, if we're being actually honest, like probably,
right?
There's probably more people that generally.
That doesn't mean that's what they have to call it, you know.
separate from that never ending debacle. Yeah, there's tons of people. Nobody goes down.
So you're saying downtown West is separate but equal, Ian?
I think what he's saying is that
this conspiracy theory is propagated by racists. Is all I want people to know.
Oh no! Everyone's welcome in downtown West.
I think what Ian is saying is that downtown West is downtown best, and that's always been our policy.
Downtown West is downtown. I'm not going to even say less because it's not. It's downtown non-existent. It's downtown imaginary.
This
it's
is
downtown
erasure.
fictitious. I will erase it because it doesn't exist. It's like the guys in that AHA video, but that
y'all ever seen the AHA music video?
That cultural touchstone.
Freaking frightening. Those people have hammers. They were gonna kill them.
I hope that there are people at home who just wait for our downtown West fight and have like a drinking game, you know.
Don't worry. These guys
once we hit the hour mark on the podcast,
we'll fucking talk about downtown West. Here it comes. I will
we
can
only go an hour on soccer talk. After that, it's all downtown West talk.
That's right. And flags. Don't forget about flags. We haven't done flags in a while. The flag for Heronville is pretty classy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty straightforward. Here, let me show you. Let me get your takes
European
on this
flags.
before
I
we
feel like
part
they know
ways.
what they're
Look at
doing.
that. I love the white and the black, but it's classy. It's clean.
I like that they did white and black. You don't see those colors a lot.
Now, what's that clip art crown doing there? That's my issue I have with it.
I bet that looks better on the actual flag. That's my vibe on that. I think that's a crappy Wikipedia reproduction.
Oh, I see.
You know, here, let's see if we can find it.
Yeah, I'm surprised there's not like more intricacy on the crown. You know, a coat of arms, sort of.
This is where folks need to, look up the visual aspect of this podcast.
Right.
Which we have. I don't think we tell people that, but we have a visual podcast.
If you want to watch it. Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah. See, that looks better, right? A little bit. I don't know.
What's this other stuff?
That's the club. That's the soccer club.
Interesting.
What I wanted to do.
I like that that's their corner flags, though. As I've always said, guys, frisk blood chalk up. You know, that's been my lifetime expression.
I've been trying to find a flag for Bridgeview, Illinois, but whenever I look up flag of Bridgeview, Illinois, it just shows me the American flag, and that is not what I'm looking for.
This guy got his balls knocked pretty hard, apparently.
Oh,
here's the village.
It's crazy to me that they're just like wild fan bases in like mid-tier towns in the Netherlands, you know?
Yeah. Play for like some team in the Balkans. It has like 30,000 screaming fans.
Yeah.
And freaking flamethrowers.
Look at this. This is fire.
Are
Those
we
people are
concerned
hot, by the
that
way. These
Bridgeview-
flamethrowers are friggin' hot.
Yeah, I was like, I'm sure
Seth
those dudes are
Rollins
dying.
walks to the ring, you're feeling that shit from like 40, 50 yards away.
I was
How
like, how do
do
they
you-
feel
When he
being
did
right
it at the
next to it?
No, when he did it at the WrestleMania I went to in New Orleans, I was in the top deck. So I was easily, I don't know, 200 feet, 300 feet, like a football field away from these flames. And they were like uncomfortably hot for me. And I'm like, how are you walking on the stage? You must be melting.
I
Anyway.
don't know how more tifos don't catch on fire.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
That is like moments away from catching on fire. That's like one brisk gust away from catching on fire.
They'd love it. That's what they die for.
Are we concerned that Bridgeview, Illinois doesn't have a flag? It looks like I'm a little bit concerned about that personally.
You gotta have a flag. How else?
Is it
If you don't have a flag, how do they know what you own?
right?
Do you think Darden Prairie has a flag? Apparently not.
I think that's why St. Louis lost in Bridgeview. You know,
But
I
they're-
think they're gonna beat Chicago because Chicago understands what good flag life is all about. But Bridgeview, Illinois, when you play there, they don't understand what flag is about.
Whoa.
What are we
Why
looking
do I
at here?
kind of love this?
What am I looking
It
at?
kind of works. I don't know. St. Petersburg, Florida.
That's very good actually.
And it's very
I'm-
inclusive.
It
If
kind
I,
of rocks. I don't
if
know.
I was
I'm kinda
from
into
St.
that.
If I was from St. Pete, I'd have that flag everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, are we being sarcastic or do we love it? Because I kind of love it.
I kind of sarcastically love it, but also unsarcastically love it.
I
Is
mean, it's
there a-
terrible, but it's great. Oh, if it has this white border around it, I'm less
Oh,
into
no.
it distinctively.
No, but
Why
there's
would
another
they-
one that doesn't, you know?
Why would they do that?
Oh,
Oh,
there
that's
we go.
just- okay.
That's the one. That's the one. Okay. I'm kind of into it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm kind of into that. For those that can't see this at home, it's like a rainbow, except not with like traditional rainbow colors. It's orange, red,
Surprised they allow that in Florida.
green, light blue, and darker blue. Well, Ron DeSantis rips down everyone he sees, but that's a different point.
He's about to do it, then he says, wait, that's the St. Petersburg.
That's right. It's like if I see it, then I can't say it anyway. But and then it's got a nice big pelican thing on it.
I dig
It's
the
probably more like a spoonbill.
I dig the negative space
Yeah,
heron or whatever it is,
Mm.
spoonbill
yeah, pretty sweet.
pelican, migratory bird.
I bet all of those.
We all
colors
marine
have-
bird experts now.
I bet all of those colors have, some significance.
Oh
to it.
yeah.
I
I really
am
need a St. Petersburg
absolutely-
team that uses that and talks about that. The
What's it
orange
like?
stands for
It features an array of colors symbolic of St. Pete's culture, including the sunshine, water, and land. The idea
That's
came
all they
after
have.
officials
That's what
called
the
for a
culture
new
is.
logo.
It's a sunset on the ocean. I get it now. I get
That's
it.
right. The pelican in the
That's
center became
their
a symbol
culture.
for the Feed the Pelican Fund, which has supported the birds during the winter months.
That's
Doesn't
good.
isn't if they can't survive during the winter months,
Do
shouldn't they
they-
just go elsewhere?
Do they feed them themselves?
Yeah, I don't know.
Are they
I don't-
responsible for feeding?
look how
all
they
the
support
pelicans, or
them.
just
Do they
did-
support them financially?
Speaking
Yeah.
of St. Petersburg,
emotionally? Is it emotional support?
Speaking of St. Petersburg, I believe Tampa is where the next Grand Theft Auto is going to be set. Grand Theft Auto 6. Not in, it won't be real Tampa, but they
They'll be
leaked.
Bampa
That poor studio has been getting leaks and leaks and leaks, and apparently they leaked
Is this
the
actually happening?
yeah.
Wow.
I know, but I feel like Grand Theft Auto
GTA
5 has
6,
been
man.
out since I was
Isn't
in
that
elementary
like-
school.
A little bit too close to Vice City, though, isn't it? Like, I don't know.
Okay,
What do I
there's the leaked map, and then
Okay.
map of Tampa Bay. That's too small. I need to zoom out.
Too small.
Boom. Boom. I can't open.
He's doing some quick. Now just click back and forth. I
Listen,
just want you to click back and forth.
Listen, I was told.
I don't know what's
Oh, there we
happening
go.
anyway.
Look at that. How's that look? Is that the right thing? I don't know. Maybe
I'm going to admit something to you all that I probably shouldn't be
Uh-oh.
admitting, but
Oh boy.
it took me
Oh,
far too
boy.
long to realize that Tampa Bay was the name for the bay and not for like an actual city. That the actual city is Tampa. Like the Tampa
Yeah.
Bay Rays were named after Tampa Bay as a city. They named after the area, and it took me far too long to know that. But I'm a big man. I
Oh,
will
that's
admit.
fine.
I will admit where the gaps in my logic and my knowledge are, and it is in Tampa Bay's existence.
I was waiting for you to, reveal where the bodies were. In Tampa Bay.
I am sure there are a few in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Steven,
They don't bother.
I don't know
check.
if you can confirm that or not.
For reasons that on advice of counsel, I can neither confirm nor deny that, but I'm sure that there probably are. Unrelated to me, I have nothing to do with it, but in any case. Folks, it's been fun. We've laughed, we've cried, we've talked about Klaus, we've lost games to Chicago Fire, but we will not lose another. Remember, folks, as CM Punk once said, even through the darkest days, this fire burns always.
That's right.
It is in our hands. We must not fail. On to victory on Saturday.
He also said, I'm tired of working with children.
That's not exactly what he said. He said, I'm hurt, I'm old, I'm tired, and I work with fucking children. So, and if that doesn't describe Roman Berkey's post-game press conferences, I don't know what. So, folks, I hope you have a wonderful night, and we will talk to you soon.
Adios.
See ya.